Many news articles out there are very misleading, but we're here to help educate you on them. This one today is pertaining to a microbiology and bacterial pathogenesis news article, and this is brought to you by Bacterial News for You.
If you're someone who wears your shoes all the time inside your house or even just keeps them on while running in quickly for something you forgot, you might rethink things when you learn what your shoes are bringing inside your house. There are a lot of shoes out there pounding the pavement. The average man owns 12 pairs, the average woman 27. That's a lot of shoes carrying a lot of germs right into your house. A University of Arizona study sampled shoes only 2 weeks old and found over 400,000 bacteria just on the outside of the shoes.
But this isn't surprising considering that bacteria are ubiquitous and our bodies and skins contain billions of bacteria. Bacteria are everywhere around us and are impossible to avoid. Bacteria are beneficial to our human health and even our environment. Bacteria help with digestion, farming, food production, and many other things. For example, one important bacteria for human health is Bifidobacterium. It is known that this bacterium helps to decrease the amount of ulcers caused by pathogenic Helicobacter pylori, but also helps with the repair of any stomach ulcers. Lactobacilli are probiotic bacteria that are used to aid with the health of our digestive system. For example, Lactobacillus acidophilus produces lactic acid and hydrogen peroxide, which leads to unfavorable conditions for bacterial growth. This is one way the body decreases the amount of bacteria present. Although bacteria are found everywhere, this is a good thing.
And 27% of that bacteria was E. coli.
E. coli is a single species but has over 20 recognized strains. It is important to know that a strain is a genetic variant or subtype of a microorganism. While most people believe that any E. coli strain is bad, there are many strains that aid in human digestion and defense against other harmful microbes from causing gastrointestinal diseases. The pathogenic strains of E. coli do exist, but with proper hygiene, these can have less exposure. It is known that within hours after human birth, E. coli actually colonizes the gastrointestinal tract of babies and lives in a symbiotic relationship with them. The difference between the beneficial and harmful E. coli strains is simply the mechanism and whether or not they have the ability or virulence factors to cause disease. Virulence factors are molecules produced or released by pathogenic bacteria and aid in its ability to colonize a host and cause disease. For example, many pathogenic strains of E. coli can bind to the epithelial cell walls of the intestines and release virulence factors, which is a toxin that can cause intestinal cell wall damage, inflammation, and diarrhea. But don't be alarmed, although there are many different strains of E. coli species, even the CDC states that most of these strains are harmless.
39% of shoes sampled by the University of Houston had something scarier, C. diff. That's an antibiotic-resistant form of bacteria.
Clostridium difficile is a nosocomial pathogen, meaning it is acquired in hospitals and infects most people who are immunocompromised, taking antibiotics, or have had recent GI surgeries. People can be carriers for this pathogen without even knowing it because C. difficile is only active during certain stages of its life cycle. When active, C. difficile is able to cause disease through toxin A production, its key virulence factor that induces host cell death. Typically, healthy individuals will not become infected by C. difficile, although there seems to be an increasing amount of community-acquired infections as opposed to hospital-acquired. Our natural resistance to this pathogen is the work of our microbiota. Our microbiota confers colonization resistance to certain pathogens by serving as a barrier and sequestering nutrients so pathogens are unable to survive and find a niche to grow in. It is widely believed that C. difficile is antibiotic resistant. However, there are many antibiotics that can be used to clear the infection.
Unless you're like really bleaching your floors or whatever, your regular cleaning may kill some of the other bacteria. What it might not do is get rid of the C. diff.
So we thought we'd do our own experiment. Terry, a WGN employee, volunteered his family's footwear to be tested just to see how dangerous it is to wear your shoes in the house. I also added 2 pairs of my own. They swabbed all 6 pairs in the lab at the University of Chicago, and here's what they found.
Interestingly, we found no C. diff. We did not find C. diff.
That's the good news, but hold on.
For 6 out of 6, we found the environmental organisms. In only 1 pair of boots did we find gram-negative enteric organisms, not E. coli, but in that family.
Remember, bacteria are ubiquitous. The video stated that they found environmental organisms on every pair of shoes, but this should be expected since shoes are worn outside in our environment. The use of the term environmental organism is misleading, as technically all living organisms exist in an environment. They also found gram-negative enteric bacteria on one pair of shoes. The most common way to determine whether a bacteria is gram-positive or negative is by the use of a gram stain. Gram-positive bacteria contain a thick peptidoglycan layer in its cell wall, which gives them the ability to retain the crystal violet dye. While gram-negative bacteria have a reduced amount of peptidoglycan, this prevents the retention of crystal violet. Another technique commonly utilized is plating your isolates on selective media. Selective media promote the growth of organisms with distinguishable characteristics, for example, only allowing the growth of a gram-positive bacteria. However, non-selective do not provide this separation. Generally, gram-negative bacteria are more pathogenic as they are less susceptible to antibiotics, but being gram-negative isn't a predisposition for pathogenic bacteria. Many pathogenic gram-negative bacteria can come from contaminated water, animal feces, human feces, and infected materials. An example of a gram-negative bacteria is Campylobacter jejuni, which actually lives harmlessly in the guts of dogs, birds, and farm animals.
That's right.
No way.
E. coli. The E. coli family means some type of fecal matter's involved.
Wow. Was that your shoe?
Tyler's, I bet.
How does it make you feel to hear that?
That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
While the family panicked about a gram-negative enteric bacteria being found on a pair of shoes, what they don't understand is that a simple walk outside your house exposes you to many different bacteria. They were extremely concerned about the fecal matter on their shoes, but animals use the bathroom outside all the time. Sometimes your dog might even poop in your own house. The video later states that there was less fecal matter on their shoes than there was on an average toilet seat. The methods by which the bacterial counts were conducted were unclear, but two ways that this can be done are through swabs and colony-forming cell units. The CFU counts are the most accurate quantitative way to conduct a cell count, whereas swabbing is a qualitative method to get a general abundance.
The technical name for the bacteria found on the shoe is Panetoia aglamerans, and here's what it looks like. It doesn't look very scary. In fact, the scariest looking petri dishes are the ones with the least harmful bacteria. These all contain environmental bacteria. They won't hurt you unless you've got a compromised immune system. Terry and Lisa might be freaking out, but they shouldn't. The amount of E. coli family bacteria found on their shoes is less than what you'd find on an average toilet seat.
They should be worried. I wouldn't, get nervous about it. I think we all probably carry different bacteria on our shoes of different kinds. But for cleanliness' sake, take the shoes off at the door.
The new rule is the shoes off at the back door.
Hallelujah.
So if you're worried about what might be on your family's shoes after this story, the doctor says simply use those antibacterial wipes on the bottoms of your shoes. She says they should remove the bulk of the bacteria, even those in the E. coli family.
The reporters advised the family to use antibacterial wipes on the bottom of their shoes. However, this is misleading. Antibacterial wipes, which are oftentimes used to eliminate germs, can actually eliminate any natural exposures to these potentially dangerous pathogens, depriving us of any sort of immunity that we could gain over time. There are two main categories of antimicrobials: disinfectants and antiseptics. Antiseptics like alcohol and hydrogen peroxide are used to eliminate microorganisms that grow on living surfaces, whereas disinfectants like bleach and formaldehyde eliminate microorganisms that grow on non-living surfaces. It is worth noting that even disinfectants that can claim to eliminate growth up to 99.9% would still mean there are potential pathogens existing on the surface. For example, if you apply an antimicrobial with a 99.9% inhibitory percentage on a surface with 420,000 bacteria, this means that 420 bacteria could still remain, and with certain pathogens, that is enough to cause disease. It has been found that not being exposed to as many bacteria is actually worse for your health, increasing the likelihood of allergies and autoimmune disorders. This phenomenon is referred to as the hygiene hypothesis and undermines the importance of exposing your child to natural pathogens, but doing so in a safe and controlled way, and by not completely eliminating opportunity for immune development. Further, the hygiene hypothesis states that we should not be afraid to interact with our environment and the bacteria in our environment. However, we should take caution and limit our exposure to known pathogens that cause disease. We do not want to limit ourselves to a completely clean and sterile lifestyle. However, we want to eliminate interactions with pathogens.
Everything we own and are exposed to is covered in life. Sterile conditions do exist, although they don't exist in people's normal, everyday life. It is important to remember that even though some bacteria are scary, most are here to help us. The key is to favor the beneficial and disfavor the pathogenic. To get rid of the pathogenic bacteria, one should be properly vaccinated and perform proper hand washing. To avoid favoring the harmful bacteria, one should avoid the overuse of antibiotics and promote prudent and justifiable use of antimicrobials. Thanks for tuning in, and always remember, bacteria are friends, not foe. Signing out, Bacteria News for you.